Back now to the story we broke first on Fox8Live.com. The city's former technology chief pleaded guilty today in federal court.
And Lee Zurich has been following the case against Greg Meffert. He's live at court with the story.
And Nancy and John, all this has to do with those crime cameras that you've seen around the city and the contract that put those together and what federal authorities say Meffert received from that crime camera contract, a no-bid contract. Jim Letton, U.S. Attorney, said today that funneled money to Greg Meffert, the owner of the company that received that crime camera contract, Mark St. Pierre. In the indictment today, funneled $868,000, over $860,000 in funds, credit card purchases, and membership dues to Greg Meffert between 2004 and 2007. So Greg Meffert today pleads guilty to federal conspiracy, bribery, fraud, and related charges. Now, Meffert was charged with 62 counts, but in today's pleading, Meffert was only charged with 2 counts, the conspiracy and then also filing a false tax return. So definitely reduced number of counts, significant for Meffert today.
In this case, we do believe that the conspiracy count addresses, and if you look at the factual basis, we believe this conspiracy count addresses all of the conduct, illegal conduct that Meffert is responsible for, and of course, including the tax count.
Now, Meffert can receive up to 8 years in federal prison. His sentencing is coming up in February. But one of the big stories of today's plea deal is with his wife, Linda Meffert. Remember, she was also charged in this case. The deal today, though, gives Linda Meffert a pretrial diversion. That basically puts her on probation for a year, and everything is clear after a year. Linda Meffert, her criminal record will be, nothing will be on it. So she will be fine in a year if all goes well. Now, Greg Meffert, the last time we really saw him speak in public was over a year ago in that the civil trial for the crime cameras in Orleans Civil District Court. Even then, Meffert was talkative on the stand and confident on the stand. But we definitely saw a different Greg Meffert in federal court today as he pleaded guilty. Really, his voice was barely audible to anyone in the courtroom, just the judge. Meffert, a different Greg Meffert today in court.
I think he's a humbled individual. I think he's he's been through a lot the last 2 or 3 years with a battering in the press and a civil suit and a criminal indictment, and he's tried to raise his kids throughout this time, and he's certainly living under very different circumstances. He doesn't have any money at this point. He lives in a very modest home with his wife and kids in San Antonio.
And we're joined now by former U.S. Attorney Harry Rosenberg. Certainly Greg Meffert doesn't want to be going to federal prison, but from his standpoint, definitely a pretty good deal for him today and his family.
I think overall, from a family's viewpoint, absolutely, yes. His wife was able, as you mentioned, to get pretrial diversion, so it removes her from any potential jail time or conviction, absolutely. Allows her to spend time with her children. Mr. Meffert was able to accept responsibility not for the most serious offenses, not for the least serious, but somewhere in the middle and reach closure, and then had the potential of helping the government and help himself by being a witness at Mr. St. Pierre's trial.
And kind of taking that a step further, Meffert has agreed to help out in any way he can. And certainly one of the elephants in the room is what this means for former Mayor Ray Nagin. We're certainly not saying he did anything wrong, but certainly there will be questions asked about them. We know you represent Mayor Nagin in some of his ethics cases. Any concern what this could mean for your client?
Well, so it's clear. I mean, assisting Mayor Nagin in connection with a regulatory issue, but I think you even heard the U.S. Attorney himself say during his press conference today that it's inappropriate to speculate as to whether anyone else will be implicated in these charges. Right now, it was the Mefferts and Mr. St. Pierre. Mr. St. Pierre is still facing trial. The Mefferts have accepted responsibility for the charges, or some of the charges lodged against them, and that's the discrete body that we're dealing with in terms of what the grand jury handed down in the indictment and the formal charges.
All right, Harry Rosenberg, thank you so much. Once again, Greg Meffert will be sentenced coming up in February of next year, although the way things go here in federal court, that sentencing date could be put off once, twice, who knows how many times in the future, depending on just how much Greg Meffert cooperates with Jim Letton's office and the FBI. Live outside of federal court, Lee Zurich, Fox 8 News.
All right, thanks so much, Lee. And